Rebecca, what were your overall impressions of judging Margaret River wines this year?
Well, I would say, first of all, the general level of quality has just been phenomenal. We've had such a range of styles, obviously within the canon of varieties, within Margaret River and the sub-regions, but it's been so impressive. There's such a sense of accomplished winemaking without being worked, and just very respectful of the varieties, varietal blends, but also just a sense of a sensitivity to the varieties, to the styles, to the potential, and really managing to at the same time retain a sense of authenticity and regional typicity. I was honestly thrilled.
Yes. Me too. The last time I was here was 20 years ago, and I was really struck by the sense of confidence, accomplishment, and very high overall quality. And Andrew, you know this area well.
Yes, I do.
Any surprises or discoveries for you this year?
I think probably the most exciting thing really was just tasting through all the Chardonnays, because there really wasn't a single Chardonnay that just didn't hit a medal quality. And really the fidelity of the Gingin clone, which is really kind of unique to Margaret River, and which has this kind of very beautiful grapefruit, nectarine-like aromatics, and these beautiful al dente textures and volume and mineral length, and they just really are just delicious wine. They're absolutely world class, and they have this singularity, individuality that no other region has, and I think that was very, very moving. The Cabernet's driven wines based on the 19th century Horton clone or Horton selection, pretty impressive, but more variable in terms of style. Whereas with the Gingin, it's very, very clear. There's a commonality about the wines. Whether they're more leaner or richer, you can still see the Gingin clones shining through.
Yeah. I'd heard about Gingin, but I've noticed many more producers really putting it up front and talking about it as their almost their local sub-variety.
Yeah, I think this is something that I think will continue to happen within the Australian wine industry, about our unique heritage clones, old vines, because the story has never really properly been told. And I think that's a really exciting thing for the industry as a whole.
Yeah. Thank you. And Vincenzo, in terms of consistency and quality, did you think there were any standouts in terms of variety or style?
I need to say that probably for what we saw during this judging period, any wine that we judged had a very high quality level, and the consistency through the flight was outstanding. Probably one of the few regions that had the opportunity to taste and realize how consistent on the long run he is. But not only between the flight itself, also between the vintages. There is very little discrepancies, and the producers are able to adapt very well. And a little bit to connect to what Andrew said, definitely the highlight are the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Chardonnay. There is the connection with the land, with the producer, with the clones. Everything together makes it a very consistent and high quality region.
Yes.
But without forgetting Shiraz and other great varieties as well, that we saw that there is a little rise on diverge on the classic, I would say, styles. We can call it classic more than usual.
And Andrew, where do you feel producers could raise the bar further, whether in winemaking, balance, or innovation?
Well, I think one of the great things about the Margaret River is that all the winemakers talk to each other, and I think that they are raising the bar already because of what I was just saying about the Chardonnays. I think the main thing is that winemakers should try and make wines that are authentic and have a voice of place. And I think the main thing is the wines that I feel resonate the most are wines that are not manipulated, that they show the pure fruit characters and and the structure matches the volume of the fruit. But I think winemakers are generally moving in that direction. I feel very confident. I think the major thing that we need to do in Margaret River is to build a narrative that resonates with the world, and I think that all the stories of Margaret River and how it came about, its ancient history as much as modern history, haven't really been told, and I think that's the great opportunity.
Yes, and I think that's starting to happen, and certainly I know what you mean in terms of the coherence and the solidarity of the producers and the extra visits and the research trips that we've had around this trip. I found it so powerful because of the way every single visit involves more than one producer.
Yeah.
And I also really love how they all drink each other's wines. And we've been to some really amazing dinners, and they haven't just brought their wine, they brought really special old bottles of other wineries.
They all talk to each other, and they always have done in Margaret River. It's a real community. They all help each other.
Yes,
and,
help each other out.
And a good example is the gingin clone. The reason why the gingin clone is so widely planted is because of, in the initial phases, the generosity of Trish and Dennis Horgan from Lewin Estates, who really basically allowed people to take cuttings from their vineyards and to plant their vineyards. So everybody knows what that family did for Margaret River, and that really set a standard about how people conducted their lives in wine.
Yes.
Everyone seems very happy here.
Yeah.
There must be something to it.
I'm very happy. I'm staying here.
Alright.
In this beach resort forever. And Rebecca, in terms of comparisons and global positioning, how do you feel Margaret River wines compare to similar regions globally? And what can the region do to stand out more?
It's interesting, the inevitable comparisons with white Burgundy, where we've seen such a shift in pricing and positioning in recent years, and where you're seeing wines of such great personality and quality here, which really, when presented blind, can absolutely stand head and shoulders next to these really highly valued wines. So that is the obvious one, and I would hope that we'll see more and more Margaret River Chardonnays, perhaps Pinots, Chardonnays particularly, on wine lists and in people's glasses, wherever that might be. But I think Andrew's quite right, there needs to be a storytelling piece that's more compelling. And I think about how we're doing that, the company I work for, and how we could be doing that better and what we need to do, but also without diluting that message, telling that story. And also another judge, Tom Klein, here was talking about the tyranny of distance. It's difficult when we've come all the way from Europe, and we're trying to tell that story. We're very removed. How do you find a way to convey the magic? Convey that sense of place, convey all the elements that we're being exposed to, even sitting here talking together. So I think that needs to be that's an opportunity. And similarly, the Cabernet story, I was really impressed. Andrew said the Cabernet examples we've seen here have been more variable. We've tasted a lot of Cabernets that have been really impressive also in the visits, etc. Perhaps there is similarly perhaps not quite so far forward, at least not the wines we've judged necessarily, or fewer of them, but there is an opportunity there to talk about the freshness, sense of place, how they respond to modern consumers also, modern consumers' needs, and the way in which we drink wines, and not having to lay them down to the same extent, or that sense of freshness and fruit coming through, but without losing structure. These aren't necessarily simple wines, but they're beautifully structured and super drinkable.
Yes.
And I think it should be pointed out, particularly here in Australia, a lot of these Cabernet producers like Cullen, Bass Felix, Lewin Estate, and there are many more. You know, they are really highly regarded by Australian wine collectors, and they have a secondary market value, and they often improve in value as much as they improve in quality, you know, in the cellar. But that kind of discovery hasn't really reached Europe. A little bit into Asian markets, but certainly not into Europe, and that's something that Margaret River needs to really work on.
So that's an opportunity, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity, and we're spoilt in the UK because we've got other areas as well.
Yeah.
Just coming back to the question, we've got, you know, beautiful Napas, we've got, you know, Sonoma, we've got, you know, all these
Bouldery, we've got all of this. Yes.
Or you know, high. Everything's emerging now. High altitude Argentina. I mean, there's so much that's going on, but you can't help but think there's something special here, but still only partly told, and that's our challenge.
And I think the expansion in imagination of what fine wine is and where it can come from is actually an opportunity, because I think there is a gradual opening up of the market. You know, the kind of the dominance, the hegemony of French classics, which are great, but that is being challenged. If you look at the LiveX index, there is more diversity coming into that index. So I think there's a great opportunity. Vincenzo, what would you like to see more of from Margaret River in the future?
I think what Margaret River is, as a group, as an association, already moving in the right direction. You can see they sponsor competition. They are here with IWSC, so they try to build awareness around the world. That is, it's very important. I think they need to keep up on this way. It's hard. The market is very competitive, but with the big group they have, they need to push as well the small producer to get together like they do, to get more exposed as much as possible. And also it's great to bring people here. A lot of people come to Australia because maybe Margaret River is a little bit more forest than other region. It's difficult to come to see, but once you are here you really realize that you are in a very special place, and usually when you are in a special place there is always special wine. So this is something that has to be revealed more and more to the outside world and spread it. And I think with this it will be easier to convince wine buyers, sommeliers, and wine lovers in the world to drink more Margaret River wine.
Thank you. Finally, one word or phrase that sums up Margaret River wines for you this year. Andrew.
Resonating.
Excellent.
I will use a gin clone.
Okay.
I will use scintillating.
I would say elemental.